any of it real? I mean, look at this. Look at it! A world built on fantasy. Synthetic emotions in the form of pills. Psychological warfare in the form of advertising. Mind-altering chemicals in the form of food. Brainwashing seminars in the form of media. Controlled, isolated bubbles in the form of social networks. Real? You want to talk about reality? We haven't lived in anything remotely close to it since the turn of the century. We turned it off, took out the batteries, snacked on a bag of GMOs while we tossed the remnants in the ever-expanding dumpster of the human condition. We live in branded houses, trademarked by corporations, built on bipolar numbers, jumping up and down on digital displays, hypnotizing us into the biggest slumber mankind has ever seen. You have to dig pretty deep, kiddo, before you can find anything real. We live in a kingdom of bullshit.
Did you know in 1946, before Queen Elizabeth was coronated, while she was still princess, she was initiated into a druidic order? This is very rare footage that the House of Windsor has done everything they can to censor. The Queen wore green to signify her rank in the order. She is called an ovate or seer, similar to the oracles at Delphi. This is pretty strange.
Hey guys, it's KJ from The Scariest Movie Ever. What you're watching here is some footage from the Platinum Jubilee, and this is when Queen Elizabeth lit up the tree. But what was really going on here, I covered this in a video way back. You're watching the Luciferians at work, showing us the devil's plan right before our very eyes, in front of everybody. Look at this, in front of the public. Just imagine all the eyes on this, yet they're clueless. They have no idea what they're watching. She's lighting up the 3-strand DNA that leads to the Tree of Life. And the 3-strand DNA is exactly what they're doing with the vaccine right now. It's creating a 3rd strand. It's altering humanity from the inside out. It's changing humans into something else. We watch this 3-strand DNA being lit up, going straight to the Tree of Life. This is Satan's plan for humanity here in the end days. He wants everybody to be either enslaved or dead. And the vaccine, the potion, the hex, the curse is a large part of that. What you're watching here is footage from Prince Charles' coronation as king. And I'm already seeing a lot of confusion, specifically because of his new portrait. And a lot of people are claiming that he is the Antichrist. Many of you know my stance on who the Antichrist is, and it's been the same for almost 10 years. Certainly I don't believe that Prince Charles is the man, but he is one of many Antichrists. The Bible tells us in these days there'll be many Antichrists that rise. But of course, there is one position held for the man of sin, the actual final Antichrist, the beast that'll rule for 7 years. What I believe we're seeing here is in reference to the horns from the Bible, the 10 horns. This is from the King James. The 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings who have received no kingdom as yet, but they receive authority for 1 hour as kings with the beast. So we're watching the rise of the kings. We're watching the rise of the horns. And ultimately, during the tribulation, once they've received their power, they'll be giving all their power over to the Antichrist. It's really interesting because you can look back on this clip I'm about to show you from just a couple years ago, and I believe this is in reference to the 10 kings forming, to that final New World Order coming together, and all of them giving power to one person. So listen closely to this clip, and of course he's pushing the satanic green agenda, which we know is garbage, and it's really all about control and destruction. But most importantly, and even subtly, he mentions that one person is going to need to be in charge of this. One person's going to need this power. He just says he will need this, or you'll see. So pay close attention to this clip, listen to what he's saying, and once again understand we're watching biblical times play out before our very eyes. We're seeing the formation of all of the kings, and soon they'll pass their power over to one man.
As we tackle this crisis, our efforts cannot be a series of independent initiatives running in parallel. The scale and scope of the threat we face call for a global systems-level solution based on radically transforming our current fossil fuel-based economy to one that is genuinely renewable and sustainable. So, ladies and gentlemen, my plea today is for countries to come together to create the environment that enables every sector of industry to take the action required. We know this will take trillions, not billions of dollars. We also know that countries, many of whom are burdened by growing levels of debt, simply cannot afford to go green. Here we need a vast military-style campaign to marshal the strength of the global private sector. With trillions at his disposal, with trillions at his disposal, with trillions at his disposal, far beyond global GDP, and with the greatest respect, beyond even the governments of the world's leaders, it offers the only real prospect of achieving fundamental economic transition.
As you know, these Luciferians, these satanic bloodlines, they love working in shadows and hidden codes, secret messages. King Charles sports a favorite tie for return to work amid cancer treatment, inside its clever meaning. See, I believe this story right here actually references the coming Antichrist, and I'm going to show you how. Here we see more references to the beast surrounding King Charles, and there's a lot of that. I've shown you some. I see it quite often. Here we have the reptilian, the serpent, the beast. And King Charles is wearing a tie with all these little T-Rexes on it. And right here, you can get a better view of it. If you take a close look, you'll see that those are a bunch of little T-Rexes, dinosaurs, reptiles, beasts all over his tie. So when I first saw this story, it's the way my brain works, it reminded me of something else. It immediately made me think back to Obama and his presidential portraits. He had more than one. This is one of them right here. You've probably seen this. You should do a comparison sometime to his portrait compared to all the other presidents we had in America, and you'll see that there's nothing else like this. If you'd like to see a great breakdown on what's going on in this picture, because there's a lot going on, there's even a T-Rex hidden inside this picture. You should check out Jonathan Kleck. He did an incredible breakdown on this, and you should definitely see that, because once again, there's a lot going on inside this garden surrounding this beast. You can even take note to the 6 fingers, which is a reference back to the Nephilim, fallen angels. Now here's another portrait that Obama had made for himself, a presidential portrait. So we have the first portrait, we have the beast in the garden. And the second portrait, there's something else going on here. As I'd mentioned, there's a T-Rex that you can find in his other presidential portrait, but in this one you can find one as well. It's also interesting that he had a presidential portrait made like this with a completely white background. The whole focus is him. It's all about him. I believe that's for a reason, because he's going to be the man running the show for the final 7 years. And I understand that that's controversial to some people, and people have their own views, and that's fine, guys. This isn't a time for us to be bickering and fighting with each other. It's okay for us to have our opinions, even if they differ from each other. Always remembering that what's most important for us is that we have Christ in common. But I want to show you what happens with this portrait when you just turn it just a little bit to the side. Once again, remember that the devil and his minions that run this beast system, they work in shadows and secrets, subliminals, codes. Now when you look at this picture, let your eyes only rest on the black part, on its suit. Just take a look at the suit and on the black part, and what will start to emerge for you is a raptor, is a T-Rex, is a reptile, is a beast. And it actually looks like it's eating Obama, or that Obama's coming out of its mouth. Just give yourself a moment. Just look at it, pull back a little bit, look at the black. You'll even see where his arm is. That's the eye of the dinosaur. And then you see the open part of the jacket. That's the mouth that's open with Obama in the mouth. There's your T-Rex, just like the T-Rex tie that Prince Charles has. I found another reference in the United Kingdom to the beast rising. to the T-Rex, to the dinosaurs, the reptilians, the serpents, the creatures, the monsters. This is from a company called Biffa, and they have a program called Waste Eater, and as you can see, their trucks all look like monsters, look like beasts, got their all-seeing eyes on there. In these days, everything's being revealed, and we find it being revealed in the most interesting ways, and to me, this is one of them right here. The beast is rising. There's another subject that we have to take a look at because it's something that's taking place right now all around the world. It's happening right now before our very eyes, but once again, most people have no clue. We call this revelation of the method. Revelation of the method, it's an occult art. It's been used by the puppeteers, the Masons, the Illuminati, behind the scenes of our society. It's the practice of revealing hidden truths and sinister agendas in plain sight, but they're cloaked in symbolism and subtext. It's a method by which they toy with our collective psyche, forcing us to co-create a future we never asked for. Through the magic of storytelling and media, they manipulate our perceptions, influencing our choices and bending our reality to their will. This is one of the reasons I believe that our Heavenly Father activated or woke up a whole bunch of his children just over a decade ago and had them with a new sight. We were able to see all of this playing out. We were able to understand some of these tricks of the controllers, the hidden agenda, everything that's been cloaked in secrecy. And we're also living during the apocalypse, which is a great revealing. So everything's coming out. So for all these years, you've had Christians online trying to show you these signs and symbols and the meaning behind it, while at the same time the beast system is showing these as well, but in their context, in their frame, using their narrative. And this is an example of real spiritual warfare that's playing out here in the physical world. The concept of revelation of the method is closely associated with predictive programming, and that's a method that serves to gently introduce and familiarize the public with future events or ideas, subtly shaping our perceptions and, more alarmingly, our acceptance of all of this. It really is like a spell planted in our minds that not only stills our free will, but also leads us to co-create outcomes that we wouldn't want. The media and entertainment industries are their chosen medium, weaving their spells into the narratives that we consume daily. As their power grows over time and their work to destroy Christianity comes closer to fruition, they let their secret rituals slip into the public consciousness. And there's little resistance because fewer people these days are carrying that moral code of Jesus Christ. Pursuit of base passions weakens the masses. It's all orchestrated. As we move into the final stages, they reveal more. Sinister programs to overtake the planet. Massive campaigns to amplify fear. Triggering people to acquiesce. Exchanging liberty for perceived... Triggering people. Keeping people in a constantly triggered state while exchanging liberty for perceived safety. At this point in our history, it's pretty obvious to see that few will stand up and fight the encroaching tyranny. The criminals parade their wrongdoings to mock the victims and flex their power. The revelation of the method is leaving clues to crimes in plain sight before, during, and after the event, leaving the decoders to read the twilight language and decrypt the ritual messaging. At the end, when the Freemasons, the Illuminati, reveal their crimes in the final stages of this alchemical transformation of humanity, it's the final form of a long history of mind control. It's been pushing the masses into this docile acceptance of a life of total manipulation and subservience. Freemasons trafficked in occult knowledge and secrets reserved for the initiated since the beginning. Their ancient Gnostic beliefs drive the desire to overthrow Christian churches and any other form of government other than their own. They want to replace all of it with a one-world government and a Kabbalistic mystery religion. This worldwide illuminated state serves as a springboard to a new paradise on earth, in their eyes. Which sounds fine, except during this transition, most of the people, or profane masses as they call them, which is us, we have to go. And they reveal all of their evil plans in literature, movies, and even granite tablets. A perfect and classic example of predictive programming and revelation of the method comes to us from the Denver airport murals. If you're a critical thinker in these days, in this beast system over the last few years, you're familiar with the Denver International Airport murals. It's interesting that they covered them up. I believe it gave away too much information. So a few years ago, they covered them up and they started an ad campaign where they were mocking all the conspiracies behind this. And when they do things like that, you know you're onto something. Throughout the Denver airport murals, we see destruction and rebirth over and over again. We see their so-called green agenda on full display, and this green agenda is straight from the devil himself. It's presented to us as this worship of Mother Earth. It's presented as something beautiful and how all the people in the world are going to come together. We know the phoenix is one of their symbols they use constantly because they're going to destroy everything as they're working on now and then build back better, but not really. They're going to build back better for themselves for that final beast system. Here's another one which shows all the world. I believe it also encompasses the 10 kings, if you will. The whole world turning over their power to the Antichrist. Swords to plowshares. I've shown you this image in the past, like a further away image, and when you look at it, you'll see that the rainbow that encompasses all the people in the world is in the shape of a brain. From the side, you can see that. That's because this has taken over people's minds. The rainbow is being perverted for this final beast system. So we see it all over the place. And it certainly, as far as this world's concerned, isn't intended the way our Heavenly Father intended the rainbow to be, a message, a promise. But it's perverted in this world, of course. The rainbow has captured the minds of so many people in this world, this false rainbow. And here we have another example. This is showing us the plagues and the pestilence. And we're already seeing the beginnings of this. Every week there's a new scariant that they're telling us is going to come get us. More fear programming in the system. But sooner or later, the truly big one's going to hit, and a lot of people are going to die. Many people are dying already because of the potion, because of the curse, the hex they took. But as you already know, the media doesn't report it as such. They're continually trying to hide this and cover it up. Here we have the death of peace. Here we have the man in green, or the pale horse, bringing destruction. The restrainer's leaving soon, and that is us, anytime. And when the restrainer leaves, it's all going to be about brutality, the law, rules. It's also interesting that we find the rainbow in this picture as well, but what we see here is a black rainbow. It's a black rainbow, eventually turns into a rainbow, and that's interesting because in the last few years, people have been recording black rainbows. There was one recently, just over the last few weeks, a lady recorded one in her neighborhood. Really interesting rainbow at night, up in the sky, a black rainbow up in the clouds. And there have been other ones recorded even during the day. And as I said, the people, when they see these, call them black rainbows. So here we find art imitating life, once again, or predictive programming, revelation of the method. Here we have in this artwork everything that's happening now and what's coming here very soon. We also find the black rainbow, which ultimately this rainbow encompasses all. It's a perverted rainbow. It's not the rainbow of our Heavenly Father. It's the rainbow of the devil, flipped upside down, perverted. And of course, we can't forget the image in the top right, which is the little Christian girl, also the little Jewish girl. There's Jewish symbolism with her there as well. But that's another sign of what's coming. You know, the whole world, if you haven't noticed yet, is turning against Israel. And this is prophetic. It's going to continue. But remember that our Heavenly Father has His hand on that nation. It's on the people, not on the government. The government there is incredibly wicked. We understand. But as you know from the Bible, these days are coming. So it's going to start with this hatred for the Jews, but as we move into the tribulation, it's going to flip over to encompass all Christians. Anybody who's a Christian, anybody that believes in the Abrahamic God, or specifically, or especially if you believe in Jesus, you're going to be targeted. So this is what's coming, and once again we find this reflected in these murals. And again, we're starting to understand why they covered them up, and they mock it constantly. For several years now, I've been talking about that divide that's taking place. It's something that I can see, and I know many of you see it, feel it as well. There's a divide in humanity, and we're all moving to one of two places. You're either drawing closer to Christ or further away, becoming more like this system, more like a beast, you might say. We are so close to the tribulation actually kicking in that we're seeing all kinds of activity magnified, quickening. Things are moving a lot faster now. As far as that divide in humanity, there's something I've noticed a trend over the last few years, and it's gaining popularity. They call it body modification, but it turns out that a lot of these people are trying to look like monsters or demons, straight up, or reptiles. To me, this is an example of that divide in humanity. We're looking at people who are now like physically manifesting the monster and the demon within them, pulling further away from Christ and immersing themselves into this beast system as beasts themselves. As I said, this is becoming much more popular, and you're seeing it more and more in the mainstream. There's even been trends on TikTok that have to do with this body modification and how absolutely insane it's getting. Take a look at these lost souls.